Thank you so much for staying tuned at Smart 24 TV. We drive your business, and this is the point where we talk, of course, a business, but also policy to see how we can actually grow our economy as a nation. Now, I'm still talking to Dr. Barungi, who is from the Uganda Development Corporation. We've talked about several things concerning the sectors of concern for the Uganda Development Corporation, including the agro-industry, the infrastructure and services industry, as well as the mineral industry of Uganda. But Dr. Barungi, as we were discussing some of these issues, something really came to mind about the market, starting up first of all with the markets that we have. We do, of course, want to increase our export earnings, and we do want to get to trade with other countries so we can have foreign exchange, but at what cost? Currently, we have, of course, some food insecurity in some parts of the country where people are still trying to get by a meal a day, and then we want to export most of our, matoke, processed or unprocessed, abroad. So, how has the UDC tried to create a market balance so that we have not so much going out, not so much coming in, so that we have a harmonized kind of market for both our goods and the goods coming from outside?
Thank you, Anthony. You're very right on the issue of markets. As UDC is pursuing its vision of industrializing Uganda and wanting all the available raw materials to process and be able to export, we have to be mindful of the other important development outcomes, food security being one of them. And I should say, regarding markets, and especially for the commodities that we are exporting currently, we are exporting made tea, we are exporting teju juice, the ready-to-drink juice. I should say we do, the priority is normally the domestic market. The domestic market has got to be satisfied before we export the surplus. For the case of tea, for example, I should say it's not in our culture to take a lot of tea. So normally we cannot consume all the tea that we make.
Yeah, we are not English.
98% is exported. The 2% is sufficient for the Ugandan market. So there shouldn't be a worry. There would be a worry with industries like the Bukona one that is using cassava, which is a food security crop, to produce ethanol that you're going to export. There would be a worry. For the reason being, while the farmers may sell to the factory and get income, and we also know that food security is not just about you having a garden. You can acquire food, access food from the market. But we also know the land use rights, the access, the use rights, how we use the profits that come out of the land, sometimes are not controlled equally by the heads of the families, the men and the women. So cassava may be grown, the farmers may have the money, but it may be controlled by the men who may choose to, go and drink it all. And there will be security, food insecurity at home. So we are saying that it is important that all government ministries and agencies that are mandated to do certain things play their role. As one institution is pursuing its agenda, when UDC wants all the raw materials to process, Ministry of Agriculture that is mandated to ensure households are food secure must also be playing its role in a coordinated manner. The two ministries or agencies come, work together, and we say, okay, how do we ensure that while farmers are growing, for example, tea, which they do not eat, they must have a certain portion of their land reserved for food crop security, food security crops. And we've seen it work in the case of Kalanga. Oil palm is one crop that is perennial. It will be there. If you take good care of it, it will live for over 3 decades. So if you commit all your land to oil palm, and for some reason the head of the family chooses not to prioritize food security matters in her home, you're doomed. But Oil Palm Kalangala, I mean Oil Palm Uganda Limited, that company has ensured, together with government of Uganda definitely, that no farmer grows oil palm unless they have sufficient land that has been dedicated to the growing of food security crops. So that is the balance we are talking about. Yes, we need the oil palm for the factory to keep running at full capacity, because even these factories, if they do not have sufficient materials, they will run below the installed capacity. That increases their unit cost of production and they become less profitable. And ultimately, either they will have to make them to set a high price for the factory products and they will not be affordable. So indeed, a balance has to be struck. Yeah, farmers must have, for the industries that are depending on agriculture for their raw materials, there has to be a balance, enough land apportioned for production for industries and production for food security, but also enhancing food production and productivity is the other way to go, which is again a mandate of MAIF. Let farmers be able to access the right crop varieties, animal breeds that are high yielding. Matters of climate change. Climate change has affected agriculture so much. If it's not drought, it is floods. If it's not floods, it's the rains coming very late. If it's not coming very late, it's the rains coming at the wrong time and destroying the ready to harvest crops. So institutions like MAIF have a very big role, and it's within their mandate to ensure food security. They have to make sure interventions are in place to make sure farmers have enough for home consumption and enough to go to the market. We want everyone to be involved in the money economy. Otherwise, they're going to remain behind, and the prosperity we talk about will be for a few, which is not the intention. It should be inclusive prosperity.
This week, we have the Africa-US Summit, and the president is there with several other delegates from government. They're trying to push for example, our US-Uganda relationships, so that we have, that kind of trade relationship where we can export our products. And this is where I want to ask the question of quality on our side, because we understand markets like USA require quality without question. And most of our products, when we produce, especially for export, one of the complaints that has come out has been that we don't meet the standards. Not all the time, but in some cases. Just take a look at the maize we were exporting to Kenya recently that came out to have aflatoxins because of poor, probably, handling or storage. In our industries, especially the ones funded now by the UDC, are we also looking at quality-oriented production?
Thank you, Anthony. UDC definitely takes quality concerns very seriously. Very seriously, to the extent that we are in the process of revitalizing the Uganda National Commodity Exchange. A commodity exchange, by its nature, has very many players, right from the production stage to the warehouses to the trading platform itself. And so for the commodity, if we are going, and this commodity is going to partly facilitate the export, whatever we are going to be exporting will be coming from the commodity exchange. So there are efforts by UDC. For example, we are in the process of supporting some members of the Brain Council of Uganda. We are still assessing Agroways, Aponyi, Afrokai, a number of them. We are assessing them, and if we find them making a business sense that indeed they are going to make a difference, they will be supported such that their storage facilities, their warehouses are up to the standard. Maybe you are aware their standards, by the way, we are aware the East African community has harmonized standards for the warehouses. Sometimes the quality becomes spoiled at the warehouse point. The storage facilities are in poor state. So there are standards that have to be met, and those standards ensure that the stored commodity remains in the proper quality. If it is maize, for example, the warehouses should be in such a way that they will maintain the maize at the right moisture content. But also there are efforts by government to establish testing facilities, for example. And it's going to be a requirement under when we revitalize the commodity exchange. It's going to be a requirement that warehouses have at least basic testing facilities, testing for aflatoxins, for example. And this is not just for the export market. Even if the maize is going to be consumed here, even us Ugandans, we like good maize.
Yes.
Yeah, we like good quality commodities. So there are efforts to support private players to be able to have facilities that are up to the standard. They are regulated, they are certified warehouses, such that the commodities that are going to be handled in those commodities are of good quality. But that is just at secondary processing level. Even the industries that are already in place, for example, sorority fruits that is producing juice that people are consuming, if it's going to sustain its presence in international markets, it definitely must meet the sanitary and phytosanitary requirements. And sometimes the quality is compromised, like I told you in the case of tea. If you did not produce quality green leaf, even the made tea is going to be bad. In the case of teju, for example, if the fruits were affected by fruit flies, don't expect good ready-to-drink juice. So there are efforts to, even at production level, to ensure farmers access the inputs they require, the herbicides, the fertilizers, so that they can control the pests, bring a clean crop to the factory. By the time it's being processed, you're starting off with something that is at a good level. Even at the warehouse level, you're keeping it in a safe environment that is not going to compromise its quality. But if the quality was already compromised when the crop was still in the field, don't expect magic at the time of export.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's integrated approach. Really, for me, it's to continue calling upon whoever is concerned.
Yes.
Do your part. If you're supposed to ensure farmers access inputs, do your part. Let them access them. Luckily, I should say some development partners have played a role. World Bank, for example, through the e-voucher system that is being implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture, the Agriculture Value Chain, Agriculture Cluster Development Project, I think. Yeah, so there are those efforts to provide inputs that farmers are going to require so that they are able to produce more products, but products of quality. Yeah, but like I indicated, yes, also UDC is in the space of supporting storage facilities because they handle the commodities before they are exported. Yeah.
Interesting. The question of quality has been very great, and that's why I couldn't just let it slide. But now getting back to the foreign direct investors and also the domestic direct investors, UDB UDC as an entity established by government, they had a name of promoting local investment, whereby we are seeing the participation of mainly Ugandans to see that we grow our local incomes, local man's income, so that we have a better home. People can easily get income in their homes. But currently, there's been also a drive for foreign investors, and the president has urged so many foreign investors to come into the country. They have been given so many incentives in that they have access to free land sometimes through the Uganda Investment Authority. We do have areas gazetted for foreign investors. They do have tax holidays. The benefits are so many that this has led to an influx of foreign investors into the country, which the government is saying is also going to promote economic growth. Is this in line with the agenda of the Uganda Development Corporation to promote local investment?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anthony, for that question. This keeps me thinking I missed a step somewhere. I should have told you in one of UDC's core investment principles is there is promotion of local entrepreneurship. And so we very much support the BUBU policy. But supporting the BUBU policy does not mean that we do not recognize the sometimes important role of these foreign investors. Sometimes they're important. Yeah. But I want to emphasize that as a country, we need to build local capacity to undertake certain projects that would greatly benefit the economy, and they cost the economy very much. I'll give an example of construction works. Whether we are constructing roads, whether we are constructing schools or public buildings, most of those construction works go to foreign companies, foreign construction companies. And that is where there is a lot of money. Constructing a road is not as cheap as constructing a tea factory. I mean, the two are not comparable. The cost that goes to this foreign company to have the expressway in place is just too high. So when such contracts go to a foreign company, it means as a country we've lost that money. And sadly, most of the times, they will come with their own expertise, because maybe we don't even have the expertise locally. Yes. So they will come with their own people to do whatever work there is to be done to ensure that the road is delivered. So going forward as UDC, having recognized that that is a drain on the national resources, and sometimes it's borrowed money that we have to pay back with interest. So UDC has already progressed in terms of supporting some local farms. There is one local farm that very soon will be supported by UDC to be able to undertake some of those construction works that previously they could not undertake. So the support is meant to empower these local farms with the right equipment. If it is capacity and they need training, they will be trained. At least we know the training you may have to fly in expatriates and they train, but it's only for a time. Soon you build your own capacity, and I mean, it ceases to be a drain on the economy. So there is that step to support our local private construction companies, but also in the long run, that is only in the short run. In the long run, UDC intends to establish a national construction company that will surely undertake most of these heavy investments. So that is going to save on the drain, and it will definitely lead to creation of other jobs. But on the other side, I want to say it's not all bad to have these foreign investors. And it is okay if they will have those incentives. It's what is going to attract them. If you don't give them any incentives, they will not be attracted to come here. But when they come, they should make a difference. They should, what they are coming to do should not be, they should not be competing with the locals. I will say, like, there is so much space in which to operate. If you look at the tea subsector, for example, there are so many areas that are deserving of tea factories, but they do not have them currently. And so they have to transport their tea over long distances to access the nearest available tea factory. And yet, I mean, the green leaf gets spoiled along the way in a very short time. So recently there are investors who came and they've expressed interest to establish tea factories in different parts of the country. To me, I don't see that, for example, as a problem. It is okay, they are coming to complement UDC's efforts or government efforts, because UDC also as a corporation does not have all the money. Yes, we may have some good level of capitalization, but the demands on that money are just so much. So if a foreign investor is going to come in and complement UDC efforts, I mean, it's only proper that we work in harmony and we don't duplicate efforts. They come in and fill a gap where it exists, but not to compete with the local people.
So working side by side would be a better idea.
Yes.
Well, interesting. Thank you so much, Dr. Barundi, for those insights. We are going to take the last break, and when we return, the Uganda Government Corporation has a lot in store, and I want us to share. You want you to share with us some of the prospects you have for the future, but also young people out there who are starting businesses face many challenges. One of them being capital. They are looking for capital. They are looking for someone to actually support their idea, someone to actually back them up. How can they benefit and tap into the opportunities that UDC is providing, especially for funding, and what are the terms and conditions? Because also those are very, very important. We've seen young people think that, for example, through the parish development model, some people thought government was just going to give out money, yet this was actually credit that they had to return at an interest. So what are some of those terms and conditions people must prepare themselves for before approaching the UDC, and how can they get that help? Ladies and gentlemen, we are taking a very short commercial break. We return with our final segment. You don't want to miss this one, because we are going to get to tell you how exactly you can benefit from the Uganda Development Corporation. My name is Anthony. Stay with us.